If you're someone without Wi-Fi or the internet in your home, or you're just looking for an understanding of what actually happens to these devices when you don't have either in your home, well then let me show you. So the Google Home suite of products are very reliant on Wi-Fi or an internet connection. They're actually reliant on both, and they do behave slightly differently when you have Wi-Fi versus when you don't. Now, I've turned off the internet in my home, and this is the screen I get. So you can see down here, it is showing basically there's no internet connection, or I can't connect to the internet, but it is still on my home Wi-Fi. Now, what that means is I can ask questions, or I can try to ask questions, and it will not be able to respond. So let me show you what that looks like.
I can't reach the internet right now. Check your modem or router connection and try again.
Now, as I go up to a device like a Lenovo Smart Display, which is really the same thing as the Google Home Hub in a lot of ways, as I interact with the device, which I can a little bit, but as I tap on the screen, you instantly end up with the same sort of response.
And try again.
And again, this is basically no matter what you do on the screen, there's really nothing you can do, because as you tap on anything, they're asking you to use the wake word, and then as soon as you do, you get the same response. And even if you want to explore things, you're getting the same response. It becomes really, really redundant. Now, what about the application? Well, this is the screen you get if you've already set up Google Home products in your home on your Wi-Fi, and you don't have Wi-Fi or the internet any longer. This is what you get, because they're trying to connect to Google servers with the credentials, and that's really the problem that's happening here. In both the case of the Google Assistant enabled device, so the Google Home, the Smart Display, the Lenovo Smart Display you saw, any of the Google Assistant enabled products have to utilize the cloud, because that's where most of the Google Assistant programming and capability is coming from. So the application will not allow you to set up devices in the first place either if you don't have an internet connection and you're not already connected to Wi-Fi. So basically, without either of those two things, the application's not going to work for you either. So there you go. Now, what happens, or what's different when you turn off Wi-Fi, which I'll show you in a minute, is essentially the device will look to connect to something else. And we can utilize that as people who maybe don't have Wi-Fi in our homes or don't have a stable internet connection. We can utilize that with a bit of a workaround that I'm going to show you here. So here's what the Google Home Hub looks like as it's lost its connection. This is just generally how it will sit. It will attempt to reconnect every so often, but otherwise it's just going to sit in a state like this, or it's going to look like you saw earlier in the video. Either way, all I did was I turned off my radios on my router, and once I had done that, I had to turn off both radios. Then that's how I managed to kind of trigger this state. Now, what you're going to need is basically two devices, a phone with a connection to the internet somehow, so through cellular, and then what you're going to do is turn on the personal hotspot, or basically broadcast a Wi-Fi signal. Now, I'm just showing you how to do that in an iPhone, but you're obviously going to need to know how to do that in your own phone. There's too many phones for me to cover. Now, once you've done that, you go to a second device, and it's important that you do go to a second device because it has to connect to the Wi-Fi that you're broadcasting. So you go ahead, and I've grabbed an Android tablet here, and I'm going to go up to the Wi-Fi section, and then I will look for that Wi-Fi signal from my phone, and I will put in the credentials that was given to me on that phone. So you've got to go ahead and add those in and make sure you get connected on this tablet or another phone. It could be either. Once you've done that, you simply go into the Google Home application, and your Google Home, whether it's a Google Home Mini, a Google Home Hub, or any Google Home device, it will be showing up here where it says set up devices because it's actually looking to be set up and it's broadcasting its own Wi-Fi signal right now. So then you just hit on that setup devices, or you hit the add button, and then you just come here and you pick your device that is sitting there. So all you're really doing is setting this up on the Wi-Fi that your phone is broadcasting. So obviously you could do this with a tablet or really any device that is capable of broadcasting a Wi-Fi signal while having connection to a cellular network or any network that's going to give you access. So you can see that my Google Home Hub has connected now, and now I'm just going through a very simple setup process. Yours could be slightly different, but you just have to go ahead and connect to that Wi-Fi. You can see I already have that password in my Google Home application, and now it's just connecting finally the Google Home Hub to my Wi-Fi, and now it works from here on out. Now, this obviously helps if you have a power outage or a lengthy internet outage and you want to get your Google Home product working. Keep in mind that your product is likely to download an update during this time, so there could be a lot of data that goes through a phone that's connected to a cell network, and so you have to be wary of that. But also on top of that, what I'll tell you is it is capable of playing music. It is capable of getting the weather. It's capable of basically doing anything. The only thing that I'd say you're going to run into real trouble with is video playing. So I would say don't try and do that. It's not going to be very seamless unless you have a really good connection to the cellular network. So maybe a 5G connection will do it, but my LTE here in Canada just didn't keep up. So now what I'll tell you about that workaround, you can go and you can create that personal Wi-Fi hotspot with a phone and then use a second device to go ahead and set up your Google Home product. But from my testing, and I'm using an iPhone, it's a 6S Plus, so it's a little bit old right now, but the connection was not stable. It was not holding on all the time. And so what I'll tell you is results are going to vary with that. You can use it, and I was able to successfully use it to get things like the weather, and I was even able to start some music, but it really did struggle maintaining that connection. Now, this doesn't mean that it won't work in your home, and it doesn't mean that it won't work with your device. So there is a workaround as long as you have two, either a smartphone and a tablet or two smartphones, you will be able to set up the device on a temporary network, and then you can re-enable or disable and re-enable that personal hotspot to get it to reconnect and go again. So it does stay set up once you've set up that personal hotspot, and it does work to go ahead and get it reconnected and then restart using your Google Assistant. Now, the other thing I'll warn you about that is these devices download sometimes very large updates, and so when they do that, that is all going to pipe through your cell phone. So you need to make sure you have a data plan that can handle that, but you can use that as a workaround. And unfortunately, without the internet or Wi-Fi, you're really not able to do anything with these Google Home products.